Hey, how's it going guys, Kris here, and welcome to another Battlefield 5 gun guide. Today we're going to be checking out the ZK-383, a pretty interesting SMG for the medic class that kind of functions like two completely different weapons, depending on its specializations. So the ZK-383 is a weapon that originated in Czechoslovakia during the late 1930s, developed by two brothers, who decided to give the gun quite a few unique features for an SMG, features that are normally associated with light machine guns instead. This included a foldable bipod, some long-ranged rifle-style sights, along with interchangeable barrels. All things that were a bit weird for a weapon like this to feature. Not to mention that it was also pretty heavy and sturdy too, giving it something in common with other supportive squad machine guns around at the time, like the Bren, having some similar characteristics, despite firing off lower powered pistol rounds and using standard box magazines, just like a typical SMG. The idea was to give the ZK-383 dual purposes, allowing it to essentially double up as a lightweight infantry support weapon, while also being a viable thing to use in close quarters as well. But the quirky features don't end there, because the gun also had another little trick up its sleeve, being able to change its fire rate to suit the user. This was all down to it having a small weight inside its bolt, adjusting the bolt's mass, therefore increasing fire rate when removed. Quite a lot of these weapons were exported to several different Eastern European nations as production began, though it wasn't too long after till the Germans took over Czechoslovakia early on in the war, and pretty much claimed the ZK-383 for themselves, to be made for their SS units and police. Anyway, let's get on to the stats. The ZK-383's got a pretty average set of damage figures, dealing 25 up to 10 meters, which drops down to 12 beyond the distance of 100 meters, basically giving it the same sort of damage figures as a lot of the others, allowing the gun to take people down in 4 bullets within close quarters, but possibly up to 9 against players further away, past the range of 75 meters, which is quite a lot of shots. Nothing really too out of the ordinary for bullet damage, with that time to kill being far longer the further away your target is. But kill times in general aren't really all that impressive to begin with, down to the ZK-383 only firing at the rate of 514 RPM, putting it on par with the MP34 in that gun's base form, thus making it one of the slowest shooting SMGs in the class. You're therefore going to be at a distinct disadvantage against other, faster firing guns up close, unless of course you choose to equip the light bolt specialization, and just like in real life, you'll be able to make the gun shoot significantly quicker, reaching the speed of 720 RPM, drastically changing the weapon from being one of the slowest killing SMGs to one of the swiftest. With a whopping 40% increase in speed, the light bolt now puts the ZK-383 on the same sort of level as the Thompson regarding its power, making it far more aggressive, essentially changing the gun's role for a completely different style of play altogether. While in its base form, the ZK-383's actually got one of the best recoil patterns of all the fully automatic weapons in the game, only having an upwards kick value of 0.4, along with equal horizontal values of just 0.085, all of which are really low figures and should generally equate to the gun being very precise and easy to use, giving it more functionality beyond those shorter sight lines where other submachine guns might struggle to stay on target. That steady fire rate and quicker than average bullet speed are also things that are going to complement the weapon's use beyond close quarters, essentially cutting down kill times over range due to it being more accurate, despite firing at that slower pace. Though of course, when you get that light bolt spec involved again, this is where you'll have to sacrifice a lot of that precision for aggression, as it'll give the gun a completely different set of recoil numbers, jumping them all up to much higher values, thus reducing stability and accuracy by a hell of a lot. This puts the weapon more in line with other rapid firing SMGs in the game, making it a lot trickier to use beyond close range, especially with it also having a much higher vertical increase value too, making sustained fire a lot harder to manage. The ZK-383 does have that bipod if you remember, which is going to assist your aim when it's deployed, helping to improve controllability for both fire rate options, though it'll still be somewhat limited if you've chosen the light bolt, restricting its effectiveness over range. Having a standard magazine size of 30 rounds gives the ZK-383 a pretty average ammo capacity compared to its alternatives. Once again though, specializations are going to play a big role in this section too, as you'll have the option to increase that capacity up to 40 shots with extended mags, giving you an extra 10 bullets to play around with. And combined with the gun's steadier fire rate and strong accuracy stats, will make it a pretty reliable weapon overall, with ammo expenditure being quite easy to moderate. Sticking that light bolt on however will limit you to those standard 30 round magazines, and will force you to burn through those bullets at a quicker rate, which is trickier to control. though compared to some of the other fast-firing SMGs, it does at least hold 10 rounds more than the Thompson and the Suomi in their standard configurations. Regardless of your choices, the ZK-383 actually doesn't do a bad job at keeping you engaged in the battle, having some fairly nippy reloads, taking just over 2 seconds when you've got rounds left over, and just shy of 3 seconds when you're all empty. So pretty decent times overall. And these reload speeds actually stay the same if you equip the extended magazines too, making that option even more convenient. Though to make reloading even snappier still, the quick reload spec can be used to shorten these times even further. Perhaps a more necessary option if you're using the light bolts, where you might find yourself running out of ammo more often. So on to the specializations, which, if you've been paying attention so far, will probably know play a pretty big role in how the ZK-383 is going to perform, with the left side prioritising lethality and the right side buffing accuracy and reliability instead, which, as you can see here, is the way I generally tend to prefer using the weapon. At the top, you'll find a lightened stock to increase manoeuvrability in ADS, and barrel bedding, decreasing ADS spread while stationary. Barrel bedding is going to complement that bipod, as you'll need to be still while using it, and it'll also complement the specializations I've chosen in the next part too, boosting the gun's effectiveness over range. The middle of the tree is where things start to get a bit more interesting, as you'll be met with quick aim and light bolt on the left side, letting you aim down those sides quicker and fire at that much faster rate. Down on the other side, you'll find the custom stock and extended mags, reducing spread while moving in ADS, while giving you that bigger magazine. Because the light bolt comes with that pretty big accuracy penalty, this therefore heavily restricts its use to CQC, whereas the other side generally gives the gun buffs all around, allowing it to retain more precision while giving it even more ammo, making it much more versatile. The light bolt does boost performance for aggressive play, but I tend to find that the other fast-firing SMGs are generally a little bit better suited for covering that role instead. Though once again, this all comes down to playstyle, and if that slow fire rate's getting you killed a lot in gunfights, then you might be better off going for the light bolt instead. And last of all, we've got quick reload and high velocity bullets. Reloads are already quite fast, and its bullet speed is already quite high for an SMG. Though depending on what you picked earlier, I'd suggest enhancing your previous choices by just following the list down, on the side that you've already chosen already. In conclusion, the ZK-383 is essentially 2 weapons rolled into one, either a rapid-firing SMG capable of putting people down quickly within shorter ranges, or a much more accurate, slower shooting gun, offering better supportive fire over distance. It mainly comes down to preference when choosing how to use it, because without the light bolt spec, it's going to be beaten by a hell of a lot of other guns up close, limiting its effectiveness here, often forcing you to be more careful when engaging targets, perhaps putting a bit more distance between you and them. With that said, it's also practically a laser beam, having a lot of stats to favour accuracy, therefore making it more viable than other SMGs over those mid to long distances, complemented by an above average muzzle velocity and that foldable bipod. Not only making it very easy to use over range, but also having lots of bullets to take on multiple enemies too, having those fairly large magazines, giving the ZK-383 a lot of versatility. But this all gets flipped on its head when the light bolt spec's applied, now being a pretty deadly thing to use within those earlier ranges, but far less so over distance, where you'll now often struggle to land shots on target. Though because the reload speeds are generally quite quick, the gun should still feel dependable in either configuration, so at least getting caught out with an empty mag isn't going to cause you too many issues most of the time. And overall, it's this weird blend of offensive and defensive stats that pretty much makes the ZK-383 a weapon for everybody, moldable to fit all playstyles sufficiently. That's it for this one, folks. Do be sure to give me a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to see loads more in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be seeing you in that next one.